I'm Soledad O'Brien. Welcome to Matter of Fact. When the FBI raided the office, the home, and the hotel room of Michael Cohen, President Trump's personal attorney, back on April 9th, President Trump said it was an attack on the country. And then he tweeted it marked the end of attorney-client privilege. But Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal called the raid one of the most significant and seismic events in the Trump-Russia investigation. So how exactly do the two cases connect? Peter Zeidenberg is a former federal prosecutor who worked with the special counsel, Robert Mueller, at the Justice Department. Nice to have you back, as always, to walk us through
Happy to be here.
So much that's been going on. Okay, so let's talk about these two investigations. We have the Mueller investigation, which is focusing on Russia. Now we have the raid on Michael Cohen. What exactly, how are they separate, and where could they potentially connect?
Well, I'm going to caveat it by saying we don't really know, because properly it's an investigation and it is kept secret, and Mueller's team hasn't been leaking. So it appears that Mueller uncovered some information about Cohen, and he took it to Rod Rosenstein, who told him send it to the Southern District of New York. Strategically, it also has advantages, because dividing up jurisdictions makes it much harder for President Trump to try and quash any of these investigations.
So that investigation that's going into Cohen seems to be focusing, at least from what we know, is not Russia. It's sort of personal business dealings of Michael Cohen, but because he's obviously a fixer in a lot of ways for President Trump, this is where things could get problematic for the president.
Exactly. So it's sort of standard operating procedure that when you are doing a big investigation and have a target, that prosecutors will look at potential witnesses around that target to flip. I mean, it's done all the time in violent crime and mafia cases.
The president said, or tweeted, attorney-client privilege is dead. So walk us through specifically what attorney-client privilege is, because I think there's a sense of anybody talking to any attorney at any time, that's covered by attorney-client privilege.
Attorney-client privilege is actually fairly narrow. It applies to an attorney and his client about legal advice. And if it's not legal advice, if you're not consulting about legal advice, that's not covered. And certainly if you're discussing a possible criminal activity, that is not covered. That's the crime fraud exception. And the other thing is, a week or so ago, the president was asked about the Stormy Daniels matter, and he said, I don't know anything about that. You'll have to talk to Michael Cohen. So it may have made their job, the prosecutor's job, a little bit easier.
How so? Well,
when they went to the judge, they could go to say, we don't think there's going to be privileged material here, because he's not representing him on that matter, because the president didn't know anything about it. And they could actually refer to that conversation or that statement in their papers.
So there is, and has been for a while now, rumor that Rosenstein will be fired. How does that complicate this case, if in fact that does happen?
Well, it doesn't complicate the Cohen case, because, again, that's now off and running in the Southern District of New York. The firing of Rod Rosenstein, I think the assumption is it's not going to be a standalone. The reason to fire Rod Rosenstein is to get to Mueller.
There's been an effort to have legislation that would protect Bob Mueller and his work, basically. The Senate Majority Leader has said no, he has no intention, at least at this moment, of bringing that to the floor. Would you support that legislation?
I think it's urgently needed. I'm not under any illusions, as are most, that the president would sign it if it came to his desk. But the fact that if there were a significant number of Republicans, House members, senators, who said, yes, we agree.
So symbolically.
I think it would at least send an important message that this is a tripwire here. Don't touch it. Stay away from this and let him do his job.
Peter Zeidenberg, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Happy to.